Are
Bum,
you
bum, bum,
ready?
bum, bum, bum,
Are you
bum, bum, bum,
ready?
bum, bum, bum.
Guilty
Guilty
balls.
balls.
Woo! Haha.
Yeah,
Added
we're on
extra
the same
words this
page.
time.
We're on the same page at that time. I was ready for you.
Nice, nice. I'm really sad you had an awesome shirt on. I saw you tweeted it. I thought the awesome shirt would be here today. Nope.
Well,
Nope.
to fill viewers in, if anyone has noticed that we are a day late, I was in the ER all night last night. So one of the rules is you take off all your clothes and they get washed immediately if you've been sitting in the ER for 11 hours.
What? Is it really a rule?
Mm-hmm.
I'm eating summer sausage, people. Christmas gift.
It's
Mm.
awesome.
It's
So
my dinner
yeah.
for tonight.
So yeah, I do. The big reveal will have to be next time. I'll have to try to wear it next week. It's if anyone didn't see the tweet, it is I think we talked about it on here. We talked about Marble League, and
I think
I
so.
decided my team that I picked was the Team Galactic, and I do have a like a soccer type jersey, like
I
all
thought you
print.
said my team is Black Dick. I'm like, that is not a team. What are you doing? There's no team
That's
called that.
that's my other team.
That's just bigger, blacker.
Biggest, blackest.
Oh
Anyone
man.
who's ever played Cards Against Humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it was a Team Galactic shirt and lots of fun. Lots of fun.
That's awesome. I am Balls of Chaos, which is not a surprise to anybody.
Nope.
Like, not even a little bit. It is who I am. I am who I am. It is who I is. I don't know. So anyway, people, welcome back to the Kilted Balls podcast. Thank you for joining us. As always, it's Ballbuster and Kilted Dragon
Guilty
Chair
Dragon
hanging out
Chair.
with you. Woo! Um, so here is what I wanted to chat about today that I thought was interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it introduced me to a new word that I don't know if I've used before, right? But as one of our goals, I tried writing some more, right?
Nice.
That was one of our goals. And so what I wrote about is we had a friend who said that one of the things that's powerful about kilted balls, and I'm saying this wrong. Like I don't know if these are the words they said. They might have, right? So I'm paraphrasing. But it was like you guys have no fear. Like you
Mm-hmm.
just do stuff. You don't worry about what you're doing. You don't worry about if it looks good. You don't worry if your theme song is awesome. You don't worry if you know how to do a podcast, if you know how to trade. You just go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, kind of what. And so I was writing about fear and that idea, and it brought up this word namby-pamby, which, like, have you heard that word before?
I've used that word before. I don't know if I actually know what it means though.
It kind of means like kind of like that idea, right? Like, don't be timid, like, don't be all namby-pamby, right? Like,
Okay.
don't be timid, don't have fear. Like, if you're using it the way I just used it, right?
Okay.
Like, namby-pamby is like being timid and being like halfway and being kind of fearful. And that's
Mhm.
literally what I wrote about
That's awesome.
was that idea, And so this word that I learned, I'm like, I didn't put that in the writing, but now I'm thinking I'm going to go back and add that word to the writing because
Mm-hmm.
not being namby-pamby is exactly kind of what we are. Let's make sure I'm not like crazy people. I'm going to Google it right now.
Check.
Oh,
That's how
as
I
soon as I
would.
start typing,
That's
it
how
says
I would
namby-pamby.
kind of do it because it goes in the same frame as like willy nilly, but willy
Yes,
nilly's
yes.
different because you are kind of halfway with willy nilly, like meh.
Yeah, like I'm
But
like halfway. So the definition that pops up from when I Googled it says feeble, timid, ineffectual, lacking energy, strength, or courage.
mm-hmm.
And I would say that what they were trying to say is that we aren't namby-pamby.
Mm-hmm.
And we aren't.
which is true. So I
It's
guess to
true.
raise an interesting question, where would that have come from? Like, as for somebody else who may feel that way, is because for myself, it's almost something I've always felt. Like,
That,
we've known each other for a long time. I don't
mhm.
know if you remember in seventh grade, my mom made me bell-bottom jeans. Like, they were huge, greased my hair back. Like, it was awesome. It was like 70s day, blah, blah,
It
blah,
was so
whatever.
awesome.
And like everyone
I
was
do remember.
laughing, but I didn't really care. Like, I was
You
having
had a
fun. And
perm. You had a
no,
perm,
that was before my perm. But yeah, I did have my perm too. It was before my perm. Maybe
and
it was the same year
you had
even.
no feels about the perm. Like you didn't care that people laughed. You didn't care whether people thought you were cool. It didn't matter that you looked like Joe Dirt, right?
Everyone looked like Joe Dirt then, who was cool.
So it's interesting. Yeah. So I think there's two things, and I wrote about this. So,
Okay,
it was
awesome.
a really good exercise to write about because I was like, I don't think for us that it's no fear. I think that's the truth. I think we don't worry about what people think about us, right? So when
Hmm.
people are like, oh my gosh, you just run the podcast, you don't care if it looks nice.
Hmm.
Well, the goal wasn't to make a podcast that looked nice. Like
Yeah,
that wasn't our goal. Our goal was to get our message down, to get our message recorded, to
yep.
get it for posterity. So
Hmm.
the only fear we had was not doing it.
Yes.
That was the fear. Like that we would go into the future with this not being down. So our only form of failure would be doing nothing.
Hmm.
And so we had fear. It was just not the fear that normal people have. Like normal
Hmm.
people are like, oh my gosh, they're going to watch this and the audio is not going to be great. And we're like, well, we don't care because the goal isn't to have great audio.
Yeah. where
You know,
where there's people and you can see it all, like just listening. We talk about Gary Vee a lot of people
yeah,
come to him and like, oh, I can't start my podcast till I get blah blah blah, until I get a new computer, until I get this microphone and stuff, and he's like, just do it.
just go. And
Hmm.
I think that's one of the things that you and I are really big on is we set different goals for ourselves, different mindsets, and we don't worry about that other part. Like that's
Yeah.
not the fear for us. And
Hmm.
one of the things I talked about in my writing is if you struggle with stuff like this, you need to identify what the real fear is.
Hmm.
Like
Yes.
what is I go and combat your fears. So if you're
Hmm.
scared of something, be more scared of something else,
Yeah, there's something else going on for sure.
right? Well, and use that. So like for me, like if I'm worried about the podcast, right? Like, oh my gosh, I'm going to sound like a dummy. I remind myself that I'm more scared that my kids won't hear this message someday. That's more scary to me. And I would
Hmm.
rather do it poorly and have them have that message than I would them not having that message. I use my fear. And people do that. And I think that's the problem is they worry, they put the fears wrong. So like this is one that I think people like Gary Vee and Dave Ramsey and Tony Robbins, I think they hint around this idea, but they don't nail it. Like when people are like, oh my gosh, I want to make $1 million. I want to be financially free, but I'm worried about pissing off people at work. I'm worried about, what people are going to think about me if I don't drive the newest car. You
Hmm.
have set your fears the wrong way. Your
Hmm.
fear you should be obsessing over is I'm not going to be financially free.
Hmm.
If that's your fear, then oh my gosh, the people at work are going to think I'm a jerk because I'm always working overtime. Well, F
Yeah.
them. My
Hmm.
fear is that I'm not going to be financially free. I don't care if they do that because that's a lesser fear, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not worried about what I drive because I have a different fear. I would
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be laughed at for driving a crappy car, but be financially free. Do you get
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And I
Yeah.
don't think they talk about when they talk, like they talk about that concept, like
Mm-hmm.
do the hard things, like Gary Vee, eat shit for 5 years, it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't talk about use the fear
Mm-hmm.
against the fear,
Mm-hmm. Well,
right?
look at like we've already talked that it doesn't matter to me, but look at how many people were like, "What? You're traveling like around the country selling stuff?" Like when I first started doing that, like
Yes,
closest people to me. I mean, great friend Miles, I'd love to have him on here someday, but he was very, and I think it came from a space of caring. You know, these
from
are people
caring and love.
who love me
Yes,
and like who didn't want to see me hurt. But sometimes you just have to turn off that noise.
you have to. And we're good at turning off that noise, but I think what people who struggle with whatever their goal is, when they
Mm-hmm.
struggle with that fear, one way you can trick it, one way you can hack this is pick a bigger fear.
Mm-hmm.
Pick a bigger fear and use that to shush the other fear. In other
Mm-hmm.
words, embrace the fear, make that
Yeah.
your friend. And I kind of remember back, and this isn't good. So let's just start off with that. This isn't good.
Mm-hmm.
If you knew me in high school, my wife says I was obsessive with how much I worked out. Okay. People knew that I worked out. I literally worked out all the time. People made
Mm-hmm.
fun of me for working out so much, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was just the thing. And Kilted was there. He saw it. I did. I worked out like a madman all the time. But the reason I was working out was I was so scared to lose because I did work out. I would
Mm-hmm.
tell myself that. I'd be like, there's somebody out there who's going to run another lap and they're going
Mm-hmm.
to beat me because they run another lap. And I don't want that to be the reason I lose. So I would go and run another lap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I would do 100 push-ups and then be like, I bet somebody else did 105. So I would do five more. Like I couldn't handle because I replaced that fear
Mm-hmm.
with another fear, you know? So quick life hack for you, friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, it is super helpful to just not give a darn what other people think.
Yes. And I need to get writing. I can't have you write the whole thing. Wow. Showing me up here.
Oh my gosh,
Nice.
right?
Yeah,
Told you I would. I sat down
that's awesome.
and I was
I
like,
started writing in my
I need to
journal.
write.
I started writing
I
in my
was not.
journal.
This is my journal, people. This is my journal right here.
That's awesome.
Which, by the
Yeah.
way, I did have an L today, but did you see how many wins I freaking had in a row?
You had a ton of wins.
I
It was awesome.
honestly, I should just trade full time. I'm like a freaking genius.
I should have had a win up and a win down at the 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock hour, but that stupid wick in my when it's with the bots, you don't know exactly what the percentage is. We set our bots at like 40 something percent just so we have the leeway. And then it ended up closing at like a 18% down.
That's so weird.
So if if that wouldn't have gone there, we would have had two wins instead of, ultimately a loss because the loss was more than the win.
Well, in my
Which is kind of
loss that I
sad.
had, I was up like 2, 3%. And I'm like looking at it and I'm like, I wonder if I should just take 2 or 3. And I'm like, it's going to, it's going to tank. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it.
Hmm.
And I was right. It tanked, but it had a huge ass wick right before it tanked.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So, I mean,
So
sometimes you lose those.
yeah, I didn't tell you the second half on my because we were just messing last night. I was messing when I was
Oh, yeah.
at the hospital. Um, I ended up getting back my money because I broke the rules. It was 10:30. I saw I forget if it was a double top or a double bottom when I said
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it was a
You
double
said you're
top.
like, hey, there's a double top.
Yeah, so I took the short and I ended up getting the 30% where where it made back the money that I lost.
Nice. Well, and what
That's
I've been
awesome.
doing
I'm recording.
besides the one, there was one I think today, but what I've been doing, if anybody's interested, I do the future. And as soon as I do it, I say 25% for profit. Like I just click the automatic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
25% profit, 50% stop, and I walk away. Which is why I
Love
took
it.
that loss, right? Because it hit the 50% loss, but it hurt, but it didn't hurt that bad.
Yeah.
Like it was a 50% loss, but then I made another percentage or two. The other thing is if I catch it, so like today I caught it and I was up like 7 or 8%. So I changed that stop to up 5%.
Okay.
So that's why you see them closing so fast when I'm
Yeah.
recording them,
Yeah.
because I'll change it. If I see that it's up like 7 or 8, I'll set it to be 5 so that I know for sure I'm going to
You're
between
getting at
5 and
least the
25.
5.
And so like for that one, it jumped up and it stopped and I only made 5 and I was like, okay,
Yeah. That's awesome.
yeah, I'll
And
take it.
oh, I did finish the Gap and Gains, which we talked about, and I did start the next book. So yeah,
What's the
super
next
excited
one?
about that. The Kinabata.
Oh, you got it and you're reading
I've
it.
already started, yeah.
I told you the first chapter's rough.
So far it's good. I mean, there were boobs and killing.
I thought you would enjoy it. So let me rephrase that, people. For normal humans, the Kinavata, the first couple chapters are rough. For Kilted, it's right up his alley. So
I just read the first chapter. I didn't read the second one yet.
There were
but I
definitely
just
boobs in the chapter and killing and all sorts of stuff. That's for sure. That's for dang sure.
I was
So
like,
yeah,
what did Ballbuster tell me to read? Oh my goodness.
I mean, I
Just
have
before
worse
bed.
books than that as far as that goes, but this book has meaning behind it. I'm really
I'm
excited because
excited.
you've never read it. I'm excited for you to read it because every somebody who's close to me has read that book, they're like, you make more sense now.
Oh, really?
And I'm like,
Interesting.
really? And they're like, we can see where you've pulled like some of your life out of this book. And I'm like,
Okay.
oh, that's cool. That's cool that you can recognize pieces from of the book in my life. Like, I think that's a compliment.
That's awesome. That's super
So,
awesome.
well, it's a thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you'll see that. I'm a big bull, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that is so Ballbuster.
Yeah.
So
Like
I'm
that's
thinking that's
him.
good. So people, if you want to get into the deeper workings of my brain, uh, read Kinavata. Read Kinavata. I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna reread it. So
Yeah. I thought we were doing a book of the month club, but you didn't guess you haven't started yours yet.
yeah, it is the busy season.
Which I was surprised.
Oh,
I did make the comment about you doing so many trades during your busy season.
it
Like,
is.
what's going on?
But I like I need to get my money back. I'm like grumpy. So I'm like, you know what? This is brainless trading. And I'm like, so I'm just gonna do the brainless trading while the opportunity is there. And it's chump change because that account got drained. So I'm like, I need that account to get back up to where it was.
Yeah.
And so I'm just gonna start. I was like, what am I doing? There's like $30 in that account. And I'm like, that's stupid. I'm gonna start trading the way I want to trade with the way I analyze it and see how high it goes. And if at the end of the day it fails, it's $30.
Yeah.
And for me, $30, like, that's taking the kids to Taco Bell, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever, if I fail, I fail. And so far I haven't. And
Yeah.
we'll see how
Well, that's
long it
like
goes.
last night. I was like, oh, I ordered a drink at the bar. I lost $20.
when I hit my loss, right? It was 50% and it was $20. And I was like, $20, I
Yeah.
don't care. Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the nice
You're
part. And what
learning.
I would like to do, I was thinking this today, is what would be really fun is get that up to like $100, take that $30 and just put it off to the side and say, that was what I started with. And I know I'm never going to go to that amount. So everything's going to be fun and I'll keep doing it the way I'm doing it. And I don't know how many it was. What was it, like 7 wins in a row or 5
Yeah.
wins in a row or something? Like
Yeah, it was awesome.
my strategies work. And even the
Mm-hmm.
loss I took, I was right.
Mm-hmm.
Just got caught by a wick, and sometimes you get caught by wicks. That's
Yeah.
like the stop is there to protect me from worse things.
Yes,
And
exactly.
if I lose on a wick once in a while, then I lose on a wick once in a while.
Well, that's also one of the things that I mean, just looking at it, because we have the trading bots, and that's what I've been doing and teaching Tristan,
Mm-hmm.
and and but also I've been trying some other things just like you. So like if I see, because I actually think we're in an upturn right now. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
not now. It's kind of unknown, but for this last weekend, I thought we were more in an upturn, like things were going up. So if I saw something had dropped at least 5%, that's why I was opening those weird longs. So
Oh.
I'm getting notifications, like my Coinbase always gives me notifications, like if something's up or down
Mm-hmm.
5%. So if something's down over 5%, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna open up. Uh, Actually, I guess I did the 20x on the one. I was thinking I'd do like tens or something, do like a 10x, and
Mm-hmm.
then so where the downside isn't huge, and just like see if it plays up. And I had a couple little wins there, like which is almost like what we used to do.
Yes. Well, and that's what I'm doing right now is who went up the most and why.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can't figure out the reason why it went up, I'm shorting it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And some things I said yesterday. So one of the things yesterday, people was SHIB went skyrocket, had huge candles, went up a
Mm-hmm.
ton. I didn't short it because I didn't know why it was going up, and SHIB is too popular that there could
Mm-hmm.
be a reason it was going up that I didn't know about, and so I wasn't going to take that risk. Whereas
Yeah.
other things, like what was one I played with today, Kava or something, like I have no
Yeah.
clue what Kava is.
VRA and Kava. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what those are. They have no reason to be jumping 10%.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Well,
shorted them.
I got a notification that Gala was crashing. So I was
Oh,
like, that's interesting. So I looked and it was, but then I looked at the Bitcoin chart and the Bitcoin chart was going down too. So I just stayed away from it.
right,
Like
exactly.
that's different.
Mm-hmm.
When Bitcoin's going, everything else is dropping.
Everything, you're right. Everything will do it. And these were things that were skyrocketing and nobody
Mm-hmm.
else was moving. And I'm like,
Yeah.
someone's playing games, someone's
Mm-hmm.
trying to liquidate people. I'm going to jump on that and try to make a quick $10.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, hell yeah. And again, you might be sitting there going, you guys have no fear. It's just we look at fear differently. And we have big egos. Egos help a lot,
Yeah.
right?
That's bad.
Egos and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those
Which
are important to have.
that is something that is just you're just learned, like that's something you baby steps with all that. Well, we talk about that, we've talked about that a few times, like doing the small things here and there add up to the big things. I was not, like when I was younger, I was the worst self-talker, really bad self-confidence, all that stuff, and that's just uh making a decision to change and then taking those baby steps to actually do it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was I don't want to say the opposite, but it took a
I think that would be
lot
fair.
of, but it was a lot of positive self talk that gave me the ego that I have or the
Hmm.
confidence that I have.
Hmm.
Right. So it was a lot of me telling me how good I was
Hmm.
to get to knowing that I was that good, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like I
Hmm.
didn't naturally think I was that good. I
Hmm.
had to tell myself I was over and over and over and over again through all those years of immaturity and stupidity.
Hmm.
Then, and my thing is I had to make sure I lived up to that.
Yeah.
Like
Makes sense.
I was not an empty talker. So if I said, "Hey, I'm going to be the fastest," I tried to do everything I could to be the fastest.
Hmm.
So I tried to make sure there was backup to my talk.
Yes.
And
Which is
that's what
smart.
actually, right. And that made me successful because I was determined to not have the talk be wrong. That was the fear, right? So that was the
Mm-hmm.
fear.
A bigger fear, like you said.
I had a bigger fear. And so I would rather have worked out all the time than have the opposite happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then, and here's what happens, people, just so you know, it becomes a habit, right? So
Yes.
eventually that's just who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm just that way, right?
Yeah.
And I'll still do the self-talk, but it's not to myself anymore. So like
No?
one of the things that people used to laugh at, and like my mom was like, "Man, I tell everybody that you do this." I'm like, "Really?" And I don't do it so much anymore because it's not a thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I would walk into classrooms and be like, "You people should recognize how lucky you are that you have the best teacher ever as your teacher."
Mm-hmm.
And people would be like, "Why would you say that?" And I'm like, if you go to the doctor, what do you want that doctor to say?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want him to say, "Hey, I just barely made it through med school"? Or do you want your doctor to be like, "Listen, I'm literally the best out there. I'm the best."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're not going to check. You don't know. But hearing
Yeah.
it makes you think, my doctor's the best. How do you know? Well, they
Mm-hmm.
said it, right? No
Mm-hmm.
one's going to check. But those kids think that I'm the best because I told them I was the best. And then they work harder,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then it's not about me, it's about them. And they're trying to get it. And we're all working together. And boom, they all excel because I gave them the confidence to begin with because I'm like, yeah, you're with the best. I'll
Mm-hmm.
get you through. Right.
Yeah.
And it's, by the way, people, we do the same damn thing with licorice and with sheets and everything else. We'll tell you what to think, and most people
Mm-hmm.
will believe whatever you tell them. So
Mm-hmm.
don't negative talk to yourself because you'll believe it, and don't negative talk to other people because they'll believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite example, and I'm sure you've got one, and this was my funny one. We had a flavor of licorice called sour bubblegum. Remember sour bubblegum?
Mm-hmm. Terrible.
Oh my gosh, people hated it. We could not sell sour bubblegum. It was so hard to sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're like, yeah, it sounds awful, you are so right. Sour
Mm-hmm.
bubblegum sounds awful. It was. So we called it pink lemonade.
Mm-hmm.
We sold out. Like people
People love the
loved
pink
it.
lemonade.
Oh my gosh, they were like, that has the best lemon flavor ever. They're like, how did you do that? And we're like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it took a lot of testing.
A lot of name changing. I
So much
remember
name
when you
change.
changed it, it changed that whole, like, people all of a sudden were just buying it. They loved it.
They loved it. We did the same with chocolate. The chocolate was awful. We called it mocha. And
Mm-hmm.
people were like, it has the most amazing coffee taste. And I'm like, doesn't it? They're like, it's amazing that you did that. I'm like, it is because it's not freaking mocha, it's chocolate. Like, but people will believe you. And we would tell people, and this is what we do with the sheets too. But I'd be like, this is the best licorice you've ever had. And they'd be
Mm-hmm.
like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, taste it. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is the best I've ever had. And they would taste it and be
Mm-hmm.
like, it is. Like, I know, because I
Mm-hmm.
told you.
Yeah,
Right? Like I tell people
exactly.
that when I sold the sheets with you, I'd be like, these are literally the softest sheets you've ever felt. And they're
Uh-huh.
like, really? And I'm like, here, feel these. And they're like, oh my gosh, they're so soft.
So, so Miles just wanted, he just needed some more sheets. And I was like, just let me know, I'll take care of you,
Yes.
blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. We've been friends forever. And he ordered online, so I was kind of irritated about that. So I had to finagle some things and send him a refund. But we were talking, he's like, did you send that out already? And I sent it out, the day after he ordered.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and he's like, well, I'm actually like low key surprised, like how nice your sheets are. I was like, I guess I'll take that as a compliment. But like, it has my name on it. Like, I have to talk to the customers who I told they were the best sheets that they've ever slept on and softest and all these things. So it was really funny. I mean, I laughed.
Yes. Well, people do that all the time, right? Oh my gosh, that is good.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't be here selling it if it wasn't at least
Uh-huh.
good, right?
There
Is
was
it the
a
best
there
you've
was
ever
a,
had? I don't know, but
there's a jerky guy. He wouldn't give tests though, but he had the worst jerky you ever had, and he wouldn't give refunds, and people would always be so pissed. I'm like,
uh,
why would you sell that? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like everyone was
no,
always mad. He's always at the shows, and he's like, nope, I don't give tastes. And
yeah,
people would buy it, and then they'd be mad.
because it
Like, why
was
would you
awful.
have something like that?
And
Yeah.
full disclosure, like I have a box right behind me of licorice, and I don't think it's good, right? But it's good enough. Like my kid just came in here and was like, "Hey, I want some of that licorice." I'm like,
Hmm.
"No, bro, it's like bedtime." But like it's good enough that people like it.
Yeah.
It's but people have different standards, right? Like
Hmm.
maybe you like I don't know, Crown Royal. No
Hmm.
judgment here, but I'm a Jameson kind of guy, right?
Hmm.
So
I mean, the
it
Crown
is what
Royal,
it
you do
is.
get the dice bag.
You get the
Jameson, you
dice
do
bag,
not.
which is important, right? Jameson, you don't. That is truth. Solid gold truth right there. No, that's right on. But anyway, different thing. We've eaten so much licorice
Hmm.
that it's got to be pretty good licorice for
Yeah,
our
yeah.
palates, right?
Hmm.
We've just had so much. So that
Hmm.
was somebody recently, they were like, why are you stopping licorice? And we're like, we don't like the new flavors, like we don't like the new producer. And they're like, oh, is it bad? And we're like, it's bad to us.
Yeah.
Like a normal person probably think it's great. We took that whole box to the buyer's Christmas and there were
Hmm.
compliments all around. And we're like, yeah, we think it's awful.
Yeah. People were excited about it. Hmm.
Yes, they were so pumped. And we're like, yeah. But that's because we have a different frame of reference, right?
Hmm.
So,
What was the kids? I mean, some of the adults too, but it's mostly the kids eating the crap out of
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Which I mean, that's kind of your target market, right?
it.
Like, hey,
Exactly.
come buy my stuff.
Hmm. Come on, kid.
Come on, kid, get your stuff, get it up for here, right? That's kind of what I think. That's kind of
Yeah.
where I'm at.
Well, not with the sheets for me, but yes, when I was selling licorice.
You didn't sell those to the little kids?
Well, it was funny. So like when I was at in Daytona at the beach,
Yeah.
and the parents would be like, "All right, Johnny, you got to pick. Do you want the licorice or do you want the what's the Cold Stone?" There's a Cold Stone
Oh
right
yeah, there's the
there, like
Cold
40
Stone.
feet from me. I'm like,
Yes.
come on. Like
It's
I had
not
no
fair.
chance.
Cold Stone was pretty good.
When kids picked the licorice, I was always shocked.
Um, it happens all the time. And you're like, okay.
No, no, over Cold Stone though. I mean, Cold Stone's amazing. It's a whole
Cold
different
Stone's
game.
pretty good, but as a little kid, it's like ice cream, and you have ice cream all the time. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
you don't have licorice all the
I
time.
guess my kids would probably do that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, right?
Hmm.
It's hard because ice cream and Cold Stone is amazing. I haven't had Cold Stone probably since the last time I was with you at a Cold Stone.
I know I haven't eaten. No, Gina had never been to a Cold Stone, so we went to one last year. It was yummy.
I can't believe she'd never had any.
I know. I was like, what? And I forget. It was like I can't. It was like a weird day to eat ice cream, and I was like, we have to eat some of this ice cream.
It's pretty good.
But yeah,
It's pretty
super,
good.
super good. But yeah, I love that you came up with that. I love that you're starting writing, and I have not. So
I thought it was
I
important.
really need to get on that. It's on my list of things to do. I have started doing push-ups, and like I said, I started writing in my journal, so I'm super excited about both of those things.
I think those are important, right?
And friends, if you start making those baby steps as far as not giving two shits what people think, we'd love to hear about it.
Yes, like tell us these things. Like if you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, that was something I had to deal with, or maybe not caring about what you think. Like that could be a thing too,
Hmm.
right? Like it's your voice that's saying, no, 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 it has to be perfect. It has to be good,
Hmm.
right? And if tell us how you're battling that demon. right? Because clearly Kilt and I don't. We don't have that issue. We don't worry about, if people are going to think we're weird because of our podcast, then they're going to think we're weird, and okay with that. I'm with that label, right?
Yeah.